Defined benefit plans have typically used alternative investments as a diversifier, but we've seen over recent years the inclusion of alternatives in defined contribution plans as well. Joining me now is Kevin Albert from Pantheon Ventures. Kevin, great to have you here on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me, Jeffrey.
So we have seen a tremendous amount of interest in incorporating what I would consider, what we call alternatives, but that means many different things to many different people. So could you talk a little bit about alts and also Pantheon?
Okay. Well, Pantheon is a private equity manager of managers. It's been in business for over 33 years now. It was one of the original firms in this industry, because the industry is only about 35 years old in terms of any pension plans investing in it. And we have 200 people, 70 investment professionals in 6 offices around the world, and we help investors build primary portfolios, which is new investments in new funds that are being sponsored by private equity managers. We do secondary investing, funds that have been sold years ago and are being traded in the secondary market. And we help our investors co-invest with the general partners we invest in. And the reason investors like that is that's typically fee-free. So it's a way to get your average fee down. We do all the private equity strategies in terms of buyouts, special situations, venture. We're really a full-service shop with over 350 institutional investors around the world, which have historically been 100% either defined benefit, endowment, foundation, or family office.
But over the past several years, it's shifted, and there's obviously an interest with $7 trillion of money in defined contribution plans. Potentially, there's a need for the diversification of private equity in a defined contribution plan.
Having spent over 30 years on Wall Street, I always get interested when there's $7 trillion anywhere. And you're exactly right. There's really a confluence of 2 events that are sort of coming together to create the situation you described. The first is there's a movement on the part of many DC plan sponsors to DB-ify their plans to improve the performance and outcomes for their sponsors. I mean, if you think about it, DC plans were created by accident. They were originally supplemental savings plans for people who had traditional pensions. And it's only in the last 10 or 15 years that it's sort of become the principal pension for a lot of folks. And so oftentimes they were administered in the HR department as an employee benefit and not as the individual's pension plan. So they were managed very differently, outsourced very often. There wasn't the investment of time that the companies and states would put into their DB plans, where oftentimes you have 15 people. You have a CIO, you have a real estate specialist, you have a private equity specialist and whatnot. So you're seeing a trend on what I would call them, kind of thought leaders in DC to DB-ify and improve the outcome. On the other hand, and it's related to the movement from DB to DC, private equity has grown up around DB plans. It started in the early 1980s, and I basically was there. I've seen this movie before. And 80% of the funding for private equity firms have come from DB plans. Well, DB plans are slowly but surely going away. So private equity is looking around the industry saying, where are we going to fund our transactions? Who are we going to invest for? And 2 things are coming out of that. One is you're getting firms that never used to have to worry about raising money from anything other than their traditional investors worrying about that. So you have firms like Pantheon and Blackstone and other firms investing in R&D to repackage private equity for DC. And that's a separate question we should address. And you also have them focusing on the private wealth market, which is basically IRAs, which are oftentimes rollovers of DC plans, and just people's brokerage accounts.